Hey friends, it's time to revisit our old friend, the 1980s. And here we have one of the many pictures that tried to cash in on Raiders of the Lost Ark, which featured globe-trotting adventurers from the past trying to find some treasure or other. So this time we're talking about Sky Pirates from 1986. Our story goes like this. It's the tail end of World War II, and legendary Lieutenant Harris is an Aussie airman and all-around manly hero. He's assigned to a covert mission to fly a transport plane to Bora Bora. On board is this reverend who is an expert in ancient stuff, some military types, and our soon-to-be bad guy, not Draco Malfoy. Now, the cargo on this plane is a piece of stone tablet from Easter Island, which has mystic powers. Apparently, the tablet was broken up and scattered, not unlike the MacGuffin in Search for the Gods, which I reviewed elsewhere on the channel. Anyway, this thing gets activated, transporting the plane into some kind of space warp, and the plane starts falling apart. It reminded me of that episode of Star Trek, Tomorrow is Yesterday, where the Enterprise went back in time and got caught too low in Earth's atmosphere, and the Air Force scrambled some fighter jets to intercept the ship. Kirk uses a tractor beam on the lead jet, which Spock warns him is too fragile to handle the beam. Of course, the plane disintegrates, and Kirk has to beam the pilot aboard the Enterprise. A rare mistake by Kirk, if you ask me. If he simply used the tractor beam to redirect the jet, that would have got the job done, or if he beamed the pilot right down to the surface, no problem, but then we wouldn't have the rest of the episode, would we? Well, he's Captain Kirk, so he knows best most of the time. Anyway, point being, maybe this transport plane has the same problem, and a more modern plane would have fared better under the stress of this space warp. Who knows? Well, they'd make a water landing, and one thing leads to another, and that leads to something else, as you might imagine. Our hero and the survivors find themselves in what is essentially the Sargasso Sea, a graveyard of ships and planes. One was involved in the Philadelphia experiment, apparently. Anyway, they spot Easter Island and set out to go ashore, and then it, of course, disappears. When they get rescued, Harris is court-martialed and found guilty of negligence. Not Draco Malfoy lies under oath to scupper our hero. But Harris escapes and eventually teams up with the Reverend's daughter, and they go globe-trotting to find the Reverend and figure out what's going on. Find the tablet pieces and stop not Draco Malfoy from taking over Hogwarts. In our cast, our big hero Harris was played by John Hargreaves. He was in a whole bunch of stuff, mostly Australian pictures, of course. He was quite good. I thought there was something Bondish about him, coming off like Daniel Craig in a few scenes. And our heroine, Melanie, she was played by Meredith Phillips. She's quite good as the Marion stand-in. Surprisingly, she never made anything else. Sky Pirates was her big splash, and that was pretty much it. It's too bad. I liked her here. She's got some chutzpah, but she's not a girl boss. And we have Max Phipps as not Draco Malfoy, the bad guy Savage. He was in some more familiar stuff, such as The Road Warrior, a Benny Hill special called Benny Hill Down Under, The Return of Captain Invincible. One of my viewers, Michael, kindly sent me a copy of that. I'm working up to it. He was also in Nate and Hayes and the Snowy River series. Simon Chilvers plays the almost thankless role of the Reverend Mitchell. He doesn't have much to do. That's right, Meredith's dad. He was in Wind Rider later in 1986, which featured Nicole Kidman. Hugo Weaving is also here. That's right, Elrond. Agent Smith himself. He's playing a thug in here somewhere. That's how he's credited, as Thug. Now, I thought this thing was really quite all right. It's kind of light, it's not nearly as good as Raiders, of course, but there are some good things here and there, as well as some goofs. Like, we see the wire on this knife, but more jarring is how they have 5 people in this life raft, and then cut to morning and they only have 3. They dub in a quick line how they lost the 2, but that's it. Well, what happened? Sure enough, there was a deleted scene where Harris checks on one of the men, and he was injured in the crash, and Harris finds that he died. No idea about the other guy, though. This film features a lot of practical effects and movie magic, with miniatures and other tricks. When the plane goes into the weird storm, it's spectacular. I did think it went on a bit long, but it was spectacular. They also shot some footage on Easter Island itself, so full marks for that. The airplane stunt, where Harris has to go out on the wing of the plane, that was considered to be so dangerous, Australia said, "No, not in our airspace." So that had to be shot in California. This one is kind of odd, having a sort of lightweight tone mixed into everything that honestly reminded me of The Phantom for some reason. But it has a few flaws for sure, and at times it gets a little try-hard. At one point, Harris quotes Dirty Harry. How many shots? In all the excitement, I lost track myself. Well, do you feel lucky? And I really wish they hadn't have done that. They also have a truck chase here where our hero has to save the girl and they fight on the hood of the truck, all very indie-ish, although it does have some differences. But no matter what, I have to admit, it's all quite impressive to look at. Sky Pirates doesn't have the depth or the scope of Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it does its own thing and it's kind of fun. In fact, I don't think it's really fair to call this a ripoff or a clone of Raiders, but it's also true that Sky Pirates would not exist if Raiders had never been made. So now this thing's kind of a hoot. The stakes are never too high, our hero is never truly in peril, and there's a tongue-in-cheek quality to it, and the practical effects are really nice to see. Among many other extras, this Blu-ray has a good featurette showing behind-the-scenes stills of how some of the effects were done. So that's the disc to get. I quite enjoyed this one, all in all, so I'm giving Sky Pirates 2 3/4 paws up. Well worth a watch. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.